Okay, we are waiting for 3 more people so that we can go on. Okay, I think let's go on. Okay, so like I said previously, I said we have 3 types of CSS. One talks about the inline, the other one talks about the embedded, and the last one talks about the external CSS. It's just a general classification that some people give to it, but I would say we have 4 types, right? But we need to concern ourselves with majorly 3. But it will get to a stage when you don't need to be writing this CSS by yourself from scratch. You can steal some CSS online, or you download them somewhere by stealing a template and the rest. So all you just need to do is, instead of typing everything from scratch, you just edit some things and it's working for you. That would be lovely. That's where we are going to get to, because nobody wants to be writing all this code from the beginning to the end by themselves. It's too much. Okay, so we have inline, we have the internal style, which they also call the embedded, and we have the external type. So I've explained the inline. Let's look at the embedded or the internal CSS. Yeah. Sorry, my system is too slow, so I want to close some of these applications that I opened and I'm not using them. I hope I'm sharing my full screen. Please, in case you can't see my screen, let me know so I can do that. Okay, so can we see that for this H2, how many H2 do I have on this page? I have just 1. Okay. Okay, so let's try and apply this style. Instead of applying it on H2, let's apply it on the one that we have repeated. We have H3 here and here. I have H4 here and here. Okay, let's use it on the H3. Okay, so we have that try to move it. Okay, so let's see how that turns out. Okay, so this is the section. So if I want to apply the same CSS to all the H3 on my in my page, so all I have to do is to go to the head and create a tag called style. Now I must have a closing tag. Remember, you apply it in the head. Don't apply it in the body. Okay, so exactly everything I've tapped here, I can type it all over again and say H3. I'll open these braces up and down, right? Let's push it to the side. And then I'll begin to give it my property and value, exactly the way we have done it here. So I can either decide to copy and paste or type it all over again. So in that case, I can say we started with color. This is what? Green, semicolon. So what this braces means is that this structure of styles will be applied to this selector, which is our tag. So whenever we see H3 on this page, apply whatever we define in that braces. That's what that means. So I have a color. So these are properties and values, remember. So font size is the next one. We said 40 px. You must put the sizing. I told us to find out more about sizing. And we also use float, right? Said it should float to the right. Column to where, right? You can float to different places according to the options that's been shown. Usually you do this, you see a lot of options. So I'm just floating to the right. Okay, so now this should apply to every H3 element on the page. So what I'll just do is I'll cut this off. So we want to see whether it's working. Remember, this is how our page looks like right now. This is how it looks like. So if I should refresh, I haven't saved. Let's see. You can see that it's trying to make sure that all the H3 appears the same way. Okay. The sizing is too much. So because the screen size from here to here is too much, that's why it breaks down this one to this side. So this is not in the center. It's also going to the right. So I can reduce the font size to see how it's going to look like. Let's reduce the font size. So we are expecting that this guy, section header, section heading 2, let me give it a name so that I can identify them on the page. Refresh. No, this is supposed to appear exactly there. Let's see what we are doing on. Okay, this is under section, and after it we have paragraph. This is under section 2, and after it we have paragraph. So, okay, let's assume they are the same section. Let's see how to do it. Okay, now I understand because they are not in the same page. Let's say section 2, section 3. So it's appearing as if the whole structure is, it wants to float to the left, but remember that these things are inside, what's it called, an article and in a section. So, and those ones have default sizes. So, but what it's trying to do is that it's trying to push it towards the end, just like if you have like a rectangle container and one is already at the extreme end, they're now trying to push other ones to that extreme end. So they are just colliding on each other and then I won't call it cascading, so forming a key. So that's what happens to this too. Okay, so but we can do better by restyling our page normally, and all this stuff will apply. So what I'm just trying to bring out here is that when you want to apply a particular CSS to a lot of a group of elements at the same time, and you want them to look alike so that you don't have to style them individually, you use an internal CSS, or what we call embedded CSS, to do that. And that's what we have done. So the last one is having an external CSS. So like in this case, we have this CSS written here. Do I have a paragraph here? No, I don't have I think I have a paragraph. So I can also define a paragraph P to have, let's say, I just want them to have font size, font weight. Font weight is your bold, normal, and all that. So this is font weight. I want it to be bold, and I want all paragraphs to have a color. So somebody should ask me that, why am I just mentioning color every time? Okay, we can have a background color too, instead of using just color. Sorry, supposed to choose that. Yeah, go on, go ahead.
This style we are writing, possibly in the.
I can't hear you. Can you be louder, please?
This style we are editing, possibly in the heading tag.
Sorry, I'm finding out to hear you. Or whoever can hear him well can speak on his behalf.
No, maybe you should type it out. I just send it to the chat.
Okay, yes, maybe you can do that. I will just look at it. Okay, so while it does that, what I'm trying to do, another thing, I try to style all the, what's it called now? I try to style all the paragraphs in the, on my page to a particular style so that all of them look alike. But we don't always have to do this, really. This is not all we do. We can do some styling, like for example, if I give, remember my header, I said all headers, all H3, they should have the same size, right? From here. So I can give an exception to another H3 element, meaning that I don't want that H3 elements to have these all the same rules that I defined up here. So that's pretty simple. All I just have to do is maybe one of the ones that is clashing here, I can give it an ID. Remember, this is an element, a tag element. So I can give it an ID to uniquely identify it and say, what do I call it now? Diff. Let me just call it different. That's the name I decided to give it. So giving it that diff, I will now go up here and say hash diff, and I will do this. Okay, so whenever we use this hash diff, it means that we want to uniquely assign only this CSS to only one element. So this is another way of implementing your inline, but now this time around it's not an inline. You just want only this element with the name diff to have this style. No other element on that page can have that style. That's what it means, because every element on your page should be unique. Okay, so and for you to make them unique, you give them a name, just like we all have names. Okay, to make us different, we have our names. So when you want to apply just a particular CSS to a particular tag, you use the hash character to do that. So I want this to have this. Another thing about color doesn't have to always be in names. Okay, I can use hexadecimal values to name my colors, and some of these hexadecimal values you need to know them. Like for example, this is black, so you can either use 3 in 3s or in 6. Okay, so like this one should be brown or gray, EF. Okay, so these are also colors. So you can Google hexadecimal colors or HTML colors or whatever, you find them online. So it's not every time you have to put the name of the color, yellow, pink, yellow, purple. No, you can use the hexadecimal values to work on them. And just for us to know that this is different, I want the font size to be just 12px. So that means to be very small. Yes, let's look at it this way. So this guy is an H3. Normally before, sorry, I've not seen your question, so maybe you don't want to ask the question again. Normally before, all H3 are applying like this, but we want to give the one that we are styling a different, this one that has H3, we want to give it a different size. So let's see how it displays. Okay, can we see it here?
Yes, sir.
Yes, so that's it. So although there's a general rule that says all H3 should have this big size, but for this guy, I decided to make it unique to show it like this. So now you can see this color is not, it's bad, it's actually bad. So, but I'm just, these are examples. So you can use any color you want. You can use, so because of this hexadecimal, yeah, you can see, immediately I did this, I click on this guy. Let it click again, open up. Let's click on this guy. It's supposed to show me, supposed to bring out the color codes on this editor, but I don't know why. So if you are not, just give it, if you don't want to disturb yourself. because you can't learn all color codes. So all you can do is, if you don't know it, Google it and use it. But if you you can have your way, just put the color if you know it. Or where here, it's like when I double click it or move, then it shows me this. Let's use yellow. You can do some blends. Okay, so these are RGB. Okay, I don't want to teach color codes. Just find out about color codes. We have RGB color codes, we have hexadecimal color codes, and we have the one that you just do what? Just use directly. So let's stick to using our direct color codes. Okay, so this is what we are seeing here. I'm going somewhere. That's why I'm doing all this blah blah something so that we can see. Okay, and the last one I want to do is the class. Now, since it's practical, let's go to the class. So the first one is we can apply a rule with a selector, and we have our declarations. A rule, selector, declaration. But this one is to identify a particular element. So I can have different elements and different styles. So I can have another hash and have another name to it and give it to another element. So I can do that. But another thing I can do is that if I want different elements that are not of the same tag, for example, this P will only applies to all paragraphs. This H will only apply to all header tag of H3. But if I want a paragraph to have a color, I also want the H3 to have that same color or that same style. All I need to do is to put that style in a class. So in CSS, we define a class with a dot. Okay, so you can see how I'm typing this out. So for example, I can create a class, call it all blacks. Okay, but remember, you must have an opening braces and a closing braces. It's very important. So immediately we see this all black. It shows us that it's a what? It's a class. Okay, so I would say, what are the major things that we use in CSS? There are so many, but let's just use the little ones. You can apply font style, background. I think I've done that one. Font weight, I've done that one. Just give it a style and say, I want them all to have 15 px. We want to have, what other things do we have? Background color, floats. Okay, these things are many, but we try to, yeah, I want border. This will look so weird. Okay, I can say border style of one px, border 1 px, so border style. Border style should be, I want it to be either solid or inset or outset. Let's do solid. Okay, so this is it. So any tag or any object that I apply this to automatically takes that. So, but how do I apply it? So let's look at this is an H4 tag. I want to apply this class to it. So to apply a class, you use the attribute name called class. And you just put that value there without the dot. Please note, you don't put the dot. Okay? So, but when you are defining it, you define it with a dot. But when you are using it, you don't put the dot, you use class. So now somebody should ask this question, that what is a class and what is the difference between class and a style? Can somebody answer that question? If you don't know it, I will answer it. But can anybody tell me the difference between a style and a class as an attribute? Are we still together? Or we are tired?
Yes, sir.
Okay, nobody knows. Okay.
Can I try?
Yes, you can try, sir.
Yes. I would say that a class consists of different elements,
Okay.
a collection of them.
Yes.
Whereas, what was the other thing?
Style.
What was, a style. A style will apply to the same type of element all through. It was a guess.
Yes. Okay. Thank you for the effort. Okay. It's a lovely one there. Remember that we are asking this question in conjunction or in relations to styles or CSS. So most of the time, when you use the style in the tag as an attribute, that means that you are telling this, you are telling the browser or telling that this HTML tag is going to have a CSS property. So that means we are defining CSS property for it. But when you use a class, that means it's telling it that we are defining a CSS property of this name of this class. Okay, so what the browser will do in that situation is that it will go into your CSS style defined up here and be looking for that name that starts with a dot. Remember, when you are down here, you don't put a dot, but it will go up here and look for it, right? But meanwhile, when you have a style is expecting you to put something there, so it's not going anywhere to look for anything. Okay, so that's just the basic difference I would like to highlight now. And when you are using a class, it allows you to apply it to multiple elements, just like what you said. Okay, so I have H4 as this. I decided to have this paragraph for style, for class. Okay, so that we can know the difference. Remember that we've defined that all paragraphs should what? Should have this color, this style. But now I'm taking some of them and giving them this. So let's see what will happen. So we have applied this to two heading for class so that we can identify it on the page. So what we are doing is just to introduce us CSS for us to understand how we apply these things, because where we are going is going to be sophisticated. And at the end of the day, you need to steal some CSS and know how to change them. Because when you see a whole chunk of CSS, how do you use them? That will become a problem in the future. So that's why we are learning this so that we can know how to use them. For example, I'm not going to change this. For example, let me show you something. I hope you can still see on my screen. So let me show you. These are images. Okay, not in this project. Not in this project. Okay, but I can show you within one of the. See a lot of style. You can see another style. You can see a lot of things that has been declared. This is the selector for table. Oh, I didn't talk about table in this training. Okay, I'll talk about it. And see the hash, defining a lot of things, text, decoration, line height, and all that. And you can see classes. So when you steal, for example, this type of style, I can open the template for you so that you can see how this looks like. Okay, so this is the template of the email you've been receiving, and I'm just changing some content inside. So when you want to create, let's say you want to create an email template like this, which is HTML. Remember, I told you it's HTML. So you may decide that, okay, I want to use the style because this is the CSS that makes it look like this. So you may decide that you want to use the style of this page. So by stealing the CSS, but you should have the ability to understand what the CSS is and how to change them, else you run into trouble. And so that is the reason why you should understand this basic syntax and all the CSS keywords and the description and how to use them. That's exactly what we are doing. So don't look at the output for now, thinking that, okay, this ugly page that this guy is building. Yes, I know it's ugly and it will continue to be ugly. But by the time we come up with a good product, you will see the value, because we are just using this to learn and to understand it. Okay, so let's refresh. Did we save what we did? All black. We want them to have 15px solid. Can we identify them with colors so that we can be sure? Let's give a new color that we've not given before. this crimson red. So I'll be sure this is what I'm talking about. Okay, let's refresh. Can you see it? Where are they? Section class. Okay, what's the difference between this and this? Can anybody explain what's going on here? Why is this one not having a background and this is having a background? Before we look at the code. Nobody. Okay, let's
Now, what's the question again?
Hello.
Yes, yeah.
Hello.
I think one has.
What was the question again?
Okay.
Oh, okay, sorry. Let me repeat the question before you speak. What I said is, I applied a class. You can see I put the name class so that I can identify it when I'm looking at this web page. Okay, so I applied a class for
Okay.
element and for this element. But this element does not have a background and this one has a background. So why does this one have a background and this one doesn't have a background when I apply the same class to them? That's the question.
I want to respond.
Yes, you can go ahead, sir.
I think the first one has a background color, whereas the other one has class color.
No, I applied the same class.
Okay.
Okay, you apply the same class.
All right.
Yes.
It's hello. Sorry.
Yeah.
Let me know.
Yeah.
Okay. It's specificity. Yeah, I don't know, but I think you are specific about the heading tags.
Thank you very much. So the answer is that this guy is another element and this guy is another element. So because this guy, we defined a general selector rule for its type of tag. So when you apply another class to it, it inherits some of the property from that one and also take the property of the class that you have applied to it. So let's look at it if I'm right or wrong. Okay. So the first one is, remember, it is all black. That's what we said. So this one is a paragraph and this guy is a what? H4. So for a paragraph, we defined what? We defined that they should have a background of what? Alt pink. And for H4, there's no definition. Okay? And that is why we have that, as you can see. Where is it again? For H4. So maybe if we apply this to H3, let's see what will happen. Before we apply it, let's look at our page again. These are H3, this section, and this one that we used a unique selector for. So let's now apply it and see. The H3. Okay, so instead of this, I want to apply it to this one, and I will say for class, so that we can be sure that it's the one that has class. So let's see the preview. Okay, can we see now that this is a section? It's supposed to look like this exactly, right? Okay. Now, two things that happens here. This one is H4, this is H3. But in H3, we defined it to have what? This color and everything. But because we now apply the class, there's a color in the selector and there's a color in the class. Okay, so by default, it has all the properties of the selector, which is the H3. But when it now wants to apply the class color, it now notices that, oh, there's a color in the parent. I think the child color should shine more. So that's why the child color is appearing. We have the color, what's it called? The red color is what is showing. Okay, so also in the parent, there is font size. And in the child, there's font size. So instead of it to take the one of the parent, it will take the one of the child. You can see where inheritance is coming into place now. But if there's any other color or any other thing that we defined in the parent that we don't have in the child, it will happen in this guy. Do you understand? So let's add something to just differentiate this H4 from the normal headers. Do you understand? Let's try that out. Okay, so after this, in less than 10 minutes time, the meeting will go to an end again, and then you can just what's it called? Click on the link to join the meeting again. And after the second clicking, we are going to stop. So, but I want us to get somewhere where we are going to build a real life scenario. Probably that's our assignment. That's what we will do. Since we have known a little of what's it called? CSS now. Let's now see how we can flesh everything out. Okay. Let's quickly do this. Difference. Okay. All black. So this is H3. H3, what did we define for H3? Remember in H3 we defined color, font size, float. Okay. Then in all black we defined color, border style, solid, and border whatever one. That's true. Does this border even show? Our border is not showing. Is it showing?
No, sir.
I don't see any border. Something is wrong. It's either we are not applying it well. Something is wrong. Our border is not showing. Does it want us to put big
You
border?
didn't have a border color.
Okay, so that we can see it, right?
Yes.
Right. Okay, I'll find something to add, but let's leave the border out of it now. I'm not going to remove it. I'm going to correct it, but I'm explaining some things to us for now. We said we have font size here. Up here we have font size, right? So the parent has font size 20. The child has font size 15. So it took the child font size. The parent has color green. The child has color crimson. So it took the child color. But the parent has float right. The child does not have. So what did it do? It floated to the what? To the right. Okay. But if you look at this other one that takes the inheritance of the other class, the same class, did not float to the right because this is a paragraph and this is an header inheriting the parent property. Okay, one more thing that we need to note. Sorry, I'm going to something. One more thing that we need to note is that now there is border in all black, which is not showing. So someone said we should apply border color and see if the border is really there. Okay, so we are going to give it color black. Black in hexadecimal is 000, or you can use 6. So hexadecimal 6, let's see. I know we've used border before. So something is going on, our borders are not showing. Okay, so let's see. Can we steal what we did before? We had a border somewhere here, right? How did we apply it? Border style, border width, border color. Did I do border width? I did not do width. Okay, so let's put border width. Maybe that's what we want. So like I said, try to remember most of these things, and the ones that you can't remember, you try them out, and it might work for you, yes or no. It's depending on what you try. I want to remove this and see whether only the border width will work. Okay, let's go. Okay, so now it applies the border. So actually the border is not needed. You notice I removed this border 6px, so it's not really needed when you want to show a border. Maybe in some other cases it's needed, but we can see that it's not needed now. So we have the border style, color, and width. So let's say we take the color to, I want let's give it one yellow color like that. Okay, so let's see what this color turns out to be. Okay, very funny. Okay, but we can see that it inherited it used its own, which is the class border, and the other ones that have this whatever doesn't have border. So in essence, practically I've been able to finish the most of the theories that I'm supposed to explain in this place. Talking about I was not going to the box model. talking about the inheritance. Do I have it in this lecture? No, I don't think I have it. Talking about inheritance in CSS, how they how this inherits values from this, how this inherits values from this, and all that. So when you get home, sorry, you're home already. When you get on your own after the meeting, you can try out most of these things, and let's see whether you can try to apply and let it work. So as they mentioned earlier, CSS inheritance helps us to be able to inherit some properties and have a unique style across our documents, across our pages, and in most of the things that we do, which is very important. So that's the essence of CSS. Now, we have introduced us to one. I've explained the selector rule, okay, by having a class, by having a tag and defining properties for it. We have also looked at the individual rule, whereby you just want to apply it to a particular unique element, whereas the element must have an ID attribute. Then lastly, we talked about applying classes. So you can have thousands of classes. So everything can have the property of their parent and still have their own property, and you can apply the class to a lot of things. So that has been demonstrated in this training. So the next thing we'll look at is the box model. Okay, box model is actually very, very important, especially if we want to build this our assignment. Okay, but fortunately enough,
a question before you proceed, sir.
Yes, sir.
There was the aspect of external.
Oh, yeah. Thank you. I need to go back to that quickly. Okay, so we've looked at inline and internal or embedded. Now the external, how does that work? Okay, someone should look at me. I'm going to create a notepad. Just a notepad. And all the CSS that I've written, you know what I'll do? Let me create a new page so that when we are downloading this, what's it called? This project, sample with external CSS.html. Okay, so everything we did here, I'm just going to copy and paste it here. So it's a different topic so that we can understand. So every style that I've written here, okay, every style that I've written here, I'm going to transfer them into a new notepad. And I'll remove this, let me remove this style from it. Okay, so that's what I've done. Okay, so let's do this for now. So I'll save it. I'll tell you also some things we still need to modify. I'll save it, and let me save it into the path where this project is. Document. So HTML class. Okay, so I'll call it external. So please note, I hope you can see my screen. External.css. I have less than 1 minute. This training will go off very soon. So, but just try and follow me. I will start all over again. Just see the way I saved it. You save an external file with .css extension. Forget about what is written here as text.document. You just put .css and save it. Okay. So